So imagine you're a student and you're studying for an upcoming assignment. It's due in a few days, so you begin to study. You're working meticulously, and after all the notes and reciting over the past few days, you feel prepared. And you remember that the test is in the afternoon of the following day. And then you remember that you had plans on later in the day. You also begin to remember that the test is worth a large percent of your grade, and that if you fail this test, you would have to explain it to your parents. So then you begin to think about the consequences and what those consequences will lead to. You begin to wonder how that will affect your following week. You begin to wonder how it will affect the week after that. And suddenly, the day of the test is on you, and your mind goes completely blank. You begin to take the test, and you stare hopelessly at these questions that you once thought you knew. We've all been there, or at least we've been in a similar situation. But this is a more extreme version of what stress can do to you and your mind. And I'm going to explain what stress is, what it does, and what you can do to fight it. So if we know that stress can affect the way we live our lives, how can we avoid it? How do we push past it? But before we look at that, I want to deal with the understanding. So the National Institute of Mental Health says that stress is how you respond to any demand. But if we look at the definition of stress from dictionary.com, we can see that stress is pressure or tension exerted on a material object. But we can also see that stress is a state of mental or emotional strain, usually resulting from adverse or very demanding circumstances. Since we know that stress is a universal force, we need to narrow down our focus mainly to the psychological, because the psychological effects of stress do also correlate to the physical actions. The physical actions may include an increase in heart rate, the rate at which you breathe, and our bodies may also generate an increased amount of energy. But stress is not the result of one chemical being released throughout the body. Stress is a result of multiple. Your hypothalamus will begin to send signals to your adrenaline glands, and your adrenaline glands will begin to produce two chemicals mainly, your adrenaline and cortisol. Adrenaline increases the amount of energy that is readily available to you, and it heightens your senses and causes you to breathe much more rapidly. Cortisol is responsible for regulating blood sugars, your blood levels, and maintaining your immune system and your metabolic processes. But an increase in cortisol causes your body to halt unnecessary processes during high amounts of stress. The processes that get halted may include your digestion, reproduction, and your growth processes. This causes interactions with the brain that also will change your mood and give you an increase in fear. Prolonged levels of stress are unhealthy. Typically, long periods of stress are called chronic stress, but chronic stress can cause your body to produce unhealthy amounts of these chemicals. These chemicals can cause a series of negative effects, emotions or feelings, and can also even make you susceptible to diseases. Long-term effects of chronic stress can include depression, digestive problems, heart disease, weight gain, and memory impairment. In fact, chronic stress has been proven to rewire your brain so that you may addictively produce more of the chemicals. But chronic stress is not incurable, since it is a natural set of processes. But people don't often know how to deal with it. Some of the reasons that people may not know how to deal with it is because they honestly don't know they're dealing with it, or sometimes they understand that they are stressed. But life can be distracting, and it may be difficult to find the time to address the mental state. But stress is not unmanageable, so there are measures that you can take long before and after you are stressed. Preventative measures can be taken, of which can be maintaining a healthy diet, a healthy lifestyle, seeking good friends, good relationships, good community, and doing other relaxing activities or hobbies that you enjoy. And sometimes you're beyond preventative measures, and so you may need to seek in-the-moment solutions. Things like pets can be great stress reducers, relaxing techniques, deep breathing, stretching, yoga, and other things. But I think it's important that we not view stress as our enemy, because we tend to think of that because we correlate it to things like fear, and we correlate fear to our loss or our defeats. But stress doesn't exist to harm us, but it exists to prepare us for what's happening now and in the future. And I think the reason that we experience so many things during stress is because it's trying to prepare us for something. And even though it may seem unnecessary, it's there. We don't get stressed and we feel like we're dying. We don't feel stressed and we feel like in pain. We obviously feel a little emotional pain sometimes, but that's not the focus. So next time you feel stressed at work or at school, I want you to take a few deep breaths, and I want you to feel confident, because stress is there to prepare you for something. stay social, interact with your family and friends. Try to take a break. Taking a break is great at reducing the amount of stress you have, and it really allows you to get focused back when you're done. But I want to leave you with a quote. He's by a former American football player, and his name is Louis Holtz. It's not the load that breaks you down, it's the way that you carry it. Thank you.